Hey guys, Seabro here. Want to learn more about how to play Old Granny Anna, or just improve at her so that you can rank up fast in competitive? Well, I have you covered, so let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so this video will be split into 3 parts. First I will talk about Anna's abilities, when they are useful and how to use them properly. Then I will give a rundown of Anna tips, tricks and techs that will give you a significant advantage when playing Anna. And finally I will talk about positioning, including the common mistake that I see all the time which really pisses your tanks off. But first, let's talk about Anna's abilities. Nade. Biotic Grenade, or Anti-Nade, or just Nade, is an ability that can be used defensively to heal, or offensively to block enemy heals. The key thing is to remember with this ability is that an aggressive anti-nade is almost always more impactful than a defensive one. If you can spot a chance to get a fight-winning 5-man anti-nade, then don't be scared to use it just because you feel like you might want it later. Assuming your team is in position to push on and take advantage of the anti-nade, there is a good chance that you will win the fight without even needing to use ultimates. A good Anna player will always have in their mind how they're going to carry the next fight, and the nade ability is the perfect fight carrying ability for Anna. Using a biotic grenade above a choke is a really easy way to get a big anti-nade on the enemy team. If the enemy is playing a dive heavy composition with heroes like Tracer, Sombra, Doomfist, Genji, Winston, or any hero that might just appear out of nowhere and destroy you within seconds, then you might want to be a little bit more strict on your anti-nade usage. Unless you think you can win a fight with an anti-nade, using it to defend yourself against a dive attempt will give your enemy enough time to peel or counter dive. Sleep. Sleep is a skillful ability which main use is to tilt the enemy main tank. Like the biotic grenade that I discussed a second ago, this also has the ability to be used offensively or defensively. If the enemy team has dive heroes, it's probably best to use that sleep on that diving Winston, because the moment you use it you become a very juicy target. Otherwise, sleeping the enemy tank is a great idea if you can get the angle on the enemy or the enemy drops their shields, because not only are tanks fairly easy to hit, if they go down the entire enemy team is vulnerable. It's best not to just yeet your sleep and hope for the best. You can try to sleep DPS, especially if you have ML7 aim. This can be really useful if the enemy DPS is ulting or Moira is coalescing or something, but just bear in mind that you are much less likely to make contact with heroes with smaller hitboxes. Nano Boost. Nano is Anna's ultimate ability. It heals the target, gives them damage resistance, and gives them a helpful damage boost. Whilst it isn't necessarily the best ultimate in the game, it can unquestionably win fights. Your tanks could be on the verge of death, and suddenly you slam down the Q button and your Reinhardt is in the enemy face with an invincible hammer. Do be careful not to nano a character when they are affected by an enemy's anti-nade, because then they won't receive the healing benefits. There are a lot of good targets for Anna's nano boost. Reinhardts are usually a good choice because it gives them a great chance to claim as much space as they would like. It usually also forces an enemy to pop an ultimate of their own to stand a chance to win the fight. Another good choice are heroes with ultimates that combo well with Nano, such as Genji's Blade, Reaper's Death Blossom, and Pharah's Barrage. Heroes that do a lot of damage, like a High-Char Zarya, a Reaper in the enemy's face, or even a cheeky Battle Mercy, are great Nano targets. Lastly, Nano Boost is great for heroes who want to build up their ultimates quickly. Let's say you want to combo Zarya's Graviton Surge with Hanzo's Dragon Strike next fight, but you don't have Grav up yet. Then using a nano on the High-Char Zarya will get her ultimate up much quicker. Now let's talk about some tips, tricks and techs. Learn preset nade spots. I will leave a link in the description below. This will give you some cheeky ult charge and will look really cool. Try to build up Nano to win the first fight. Nano is one of the fastest built ultimates in the game. The first fight of every game is known as the neutral fight, where nobody has any ultimates. If you can build up the first ultimate, then you will almost definitely win that fight, as the enemies won't have any ultimates to counter it. Simply ask your other healer not to heal, ask your tanks to take some damage and not to engage yet, then build up nano, and as soon as you get it, the entire team should press W. Importantly, you should try to limit the damage that you do to the enemy team so that the enemy healers don't get their ultimate up at the same time. If you can, nade enemies and friendlies at the same time. This is common in the Rhine vs Rhine matchup if both Rhines are swinging their hammer at the same time. There's a big chance to hit them both at the same time, almost guaranteeing your Reinhardt wins. Combo anti-nade with Graviton Surge. This will stop any healing like enemy nades or Zenyatta's Transcendence from saving them from impending doom. Try not to throw nades a long distance as a reaction. The longer the distance that you throw a biotic grenade, the longer the travel time, making it very likely that you won't hit what you want to. Keep track of your ammunition. All Annas know the feeling of trying to reload mid-fight. Often, if you don't go into a fight with full ammo, you will likely need to reload exactly at the worst possible time, as people start to get low. For this reason, try to start each fight with full ammunition, and try not to waste shots on full HP targets. If you are hiding, use hip fire shots. Scope shots can be seen by the enemy. They leave a really obvious trail. So if you are hiding so the enemy doesn't know where to dive you, then try not to give your position away. Communication is really important as Anna. Telling your team what's in your line of sights, when you need to reload, who you're going to nano, who on the enemy team is anti-naded, if you need someone to help you because you've just been dived, if an enemy is slept, are all things you should call. But also, you are usually going to be playing at the back of your team, so be sure to call anything that you see that the other players on your team need to know. Try quick scoping and ghost scoping. Once you get used to it, it will help your accuracy a lot and make you a much more reliable teammate. I will probably make a video on it at some point, but for now I will leave a link to another video on it in the description below. To make quick scoping easier, try out the toggle scope setting. It will feel weird at first if you are not used to it, but once you get used to it, you will never go back. Keep track of Reinhardt's Earthshatter and Firestrike animations. If the hammer is going from above or below, then he cannot cancel the animation, so it's a good time for a sleep or an anti-nade. If you have an extra mouse button free, use it to bind sleep dart because it will make it a lot easier for you to aim. I have 2 extra buttons on my mouse, one I use for melee on all heroes and one I use for the aim abilities like sleep dart and firestrike. You can animation cancel your primary fire with nade and sleep. This means that you can get a hit on the target before you sleep or anti-nade someone, making that kill even more likely. Last tip is don't be a heal bot. Yes, Anna can heal, but if nobody on your team needs healing, then go for the damage. It will help you build ult faster and put more pressure on the enemy team. If you have a healer in your team that does a lot of healing like a Moira or Baptiste, and they're healing your teammates, then great, go for a flank or an aggressive play. On ladder, you want to carry your games, and you aren't going to get to a mega high rank just by playing really far back with mediocre aim. Okay, so that's it for my tip section. Now I want to finish off by talking about positioning. This is, in my opinion, the biggest thing that players of all ranks struggle with. Many guides talk about staying far back because that's safe and it has a place, but it makes it much harder for you to hit your nades and it makes it much harder for your team to get back and help you. And also it's harder for you to push up with your team if your tanks want to press W. Some really notable people in the community, especially in really old outdated guides, tell you to play really far back, but it's important that you play at more of a medium range. Where you play is really dependent on what heroes enemies have. If they have a Tracer or Sombra for example, playing close to a main support or off tank who can peel for you is a much better idea than playing at the back of the map. Similarly, if the enemy has a Junkrat, Widow or Hanzo, then playing outside of their line of sight is really important. Ideally, you want to be playing around cover or high ground where it is safe and close enough that you can get your anti-nades off and get support from your team. Another important thing when playing Ana is that you predict when and where the fights will take place. If your team is playing dive, for example, it's no use playing with your team if in 2 seconds they are all going to be out of your line of sight. You also don't want to be timing a rotation halfway around the map to get some high ground if the fight is about to happen, because you'll be left with a team who are screaming at you for not healing. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more Ana tips or useful information that I missed, then feel free to chuck it in the comments below. If you want to see more educational content, then feel free to throw a cheeky subscribe my way and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of my uploads. Anyway, thank you for watching again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!